If you are a parent, a mom, a dad, if you are a non-native English speaker who wants to teach English to your child at home, this video is for you. Last week, I made a masterclass video where I gave a lot of information about how to raise your child speaking English at home. And today I'm going to answer a lot of questions that I got in the comments of that video, and also questions that were emailed to me by people, viewers like you. What I find reading a lot of people's experiences and questions is that a lot of parents have the same problems. We all are nervous about our language abilities. Is our English good enough? In my case, French and Spanish. Are we going to pass our mistakes down to our children if we speak to them in incorrect English? What do we do when our children refuse to speak English? So we're going to talk about a lot of things today in this video. I'm not sure, maybe it will be a long video. I don't know. Sit back, get comfortable, grab a cup of coffee or tea, turn the subtitles on down below, the CC button if you would like the subtitles. I'll try to correct them so that they are good subtitles and not the crappy YouTube auto-generated subtitles. I would love for you to share your experience in the comments down below. So if you are raising a multilingual child, if you're raising your child or your baby to speak English, or you are planning to raise your child in English, please let us know down below. Let us know about your family in the comments down below. In case you missed it last week, I also have a PDF to share with you. These are natural English phrases that you can post around your house, in the bathroom, in the bedroom, in the kitchen. So if you can't think of a natural phrase to begin your English conversation with your child, you can just look at the wall and use one of these natural phrases. So you can download these from the link down below in the description. Part of the reason why I'm making these videos right now to help parents is, one, because I cannot stop thinking about this. This is a season in my life where I am just so focused on my own child's learning journey in terms of languages. I can't stop thinking about it. We're making decisions all the time, every day, about how we can help him grow his language abilities and grow his confidence in his languages. And so I just can't help, I can't stop myself from sharing that with you and from talking about this topic. I've also noticed more and more that there are a lot of English videos already on YouTube that can help you with everything, all sorts of things related to English, but I don't really see as much on YouTube helping parents teach English to their children. And I know that I can offer a lot of help on this topic. So I'm sort of concentrating on the parents right now. All right, so I'm going to look at some of your comments now on the video from last week. I want to share this lovely comment with you from a mom in Brazil, Jessica, it looks like her name is. So Jessica said that she has been teaching English at home to her children in Brazil for 17 years, and she has been successful. I love this story. I love stories like Jessica's and Jessica's family, because it just shows you that it's possible for people to raise their children with a good level of English from an early age, even if you're a non-native speaker, even if you live in a non-English speaking environment. And more importantly, it's possible to give your children a love for language learning and confidence in speaking the language from an early age. So thank you, Jessica, for sharing this comment with me. I find it very inspirational, and I'm so happy that you shared that. Questions. These days, I'm trying to talk to my 1-year-old son in English when just the two of us spend time together. I sometimes start the sentence with mommy. Example, mommy needs to go to the bathroom. And sometimes I start the sentence with I. For example, I am going to have dinner. Which one do you use? Which one did you use when your child was a 1-year-old baby? Great question. Either one is fine. A lot of parents will say, mommy, will refer to themselves in the third person like this. Mommy needs to go to the bathroom. I do this all the time. Actually, I sometimes still do this with my 4-year-old son out of habit. Don't quote me on this because I am not a speech therapist for children, but I seem to remember that calling yourself by your name to really young children is a good idea because children don't yet understand pronouns. They mix up pronouns all the time. And so it's clearer for them if you say, Mama needs to go to the bathroom. Mommy needs to go to the bathroom. Okay, I am teaching my son and daughter of age 4 and 2 at home. My problem is that I am not a really fluent speaker. So many times I will fall short of words. And I also want to teach them by topics, but my vocabulary is not so much, not so rich. I hope you could make some videos by topics, daily routine, which maybe my kids and I can watch together. It's also good for them to train their listening. Also, I think being able to use phrasal verbs can make it more like a native speaker, but I have bad control of phrasal verbs. Can you teach us more phrasal verbs commonly used that I can teach my kids? Okay, there is a lot here in this comment. Yes, it is a very valid concern. It is a very good, important concern to have that maybe your English is not at a very strong level and that maybe you are the only person around who can speak English with your young child, ages, 0 to 4. I'm talking about these really early years here in these videos. So if you have a really young child, you want to teach English to them or speak English with them, but you feel like your English is not fluent enough, there are a few things to keep in mind. So number one, you are going to have to continuously learn and improve with your child, which I think this person is doing. It sounds like this person is trying to learn along with their children, which is wonderful. We do have to be really open to learning because learning a language, the process of learning a language is never finished, right? Like I have been learning English since I was a baby, but there are a lot of things about English that I don't know, that I'm still learning every day. I learn new vocabulary words in English all the time when I'm reading a book or listening to a podcast or whatever. The learning process does not end, so we have to be willing to learn with our children. It's normal to not know everything, of course, and phrasal verbs especially are tricky. They're really hard to learn. They're really hard to remember. I think I do have a video on this channel about very commonly used phrasal verbs, so I will link that up above or down below so that you can watch that after this video if you'd like. For doing everyday routines, I have made this part of my curriculum for an 8-week program for parents, which is coming out really soon. So if you're super serious about teaching English to your young babies or young children at home, you can check out that program. I will link it in the description down below. I don't know if you can hear that, but my neighbor is playing piano right now. It's kind of nice. Where do I have to start to teach my children English at the same time that I'm a learner too? My son is 6 years old and my daughter is 3.5 years old. I'm confused. Where do I begin? Vocabulary, phrases, set aside a time to only speak in English. Some people say start with teaching the noun. Oh, this is such a good question. I should say from the start that I don't have personal experience with 6-year-olds. My son is 4, so I can talk about from personal experience ages 0 to 4. So I might not get this quite right for your 6-year-old, but for your 3.5-year-old, I can help you. When we start a language from when a child is a baby, from before they can start talking, it's a lot easier. And the reason it's easier is because you just need to start surrounding them with the language. Playing songs in English, talking to them in English, playing games with them in English, whatever you can do, just giving them as much English interaction as possible. And this tends to be easy with a baby because they don't know any different. They're not going to push back or refuse. And also, it's a lot easier for you to get into the habit of speaking English with your child if you do it from the very beginning. But when your child is a toddler or a young child, your child already speaks a language. And so you probably will experience some pushback. Also, you are not in the habit as a parent of speaking English with them. So we need to be a little bit more intentional, a little bit more, we have to plan a little bit more. To use my own experience, we started off French and English with my son when he was first born on day one. And so French has always been quite natural and easy. I also have my husband who's a native French speaker, so we're kind of cheating here. I know that we have an advantage. But many native speakers do not pass their language on to their children in North America. With Spanish, we only recently started introducing Spanish to my son, and it's much more of a challenge. We have to be a lot more intentional about the things that we do and the time that we spend teaching Spanish to him or exposing him to Spanish. To answer this question, I would say start small. So choose a time or a place in your everyday with your children where you can begin introducing English. So for example, maybe it's bedtime when you're reading. Maybe it's bath time. Maybe it's in the car. Start really small, so even just 10 minutes. Like you can say, this week, we're just going to do 10 minutes of English at bath time every day of the week. Start small, don't overwhelm yourself, and don't pressure or overwhelm your children because you want to ease into it and not just scare everybody and burn everybody out so that it's not a fun experience. This should be fun. This is going to be a lifetime commitment. This is never going to end. And so there's no rush. That first week or that first month, you can start with nouns. You can point things out that your children can see in the bathtub and say them in English. Duck, water, 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 wall, wall. A couple of important things. Do not expect your children to answer you back or to say it back to you. It might feel weird for them. They might need some time. But this is how languages are learned. Languages are words. So we are exposing them to words, one word at a time, being consistent, being repetitive. It might seem boring to us, but for children, this is not boring because they're learning it for the first time. I think this is a mistake that we often make as parents, is because we are bored, because we think it's boring, we think that our kids think it's boring. And that's just not true for so many things when it comes to learning how to read, learning letter sounds, learning animals and the sounds that animals make. For us, it's so boring to listen to the same song 100 times, but kids love it. They love repetition. It makes them feel confident to repeat things again and again and again. So try to keep that in mind when you're using English words over and over and over again with your child. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Your English is so clear and good. May I know which part of the United States you are from? I was born in Georgia, a state in the southern United States. But you may notice that I do not have a Southern accent. I moved around a lot when I was growing up. And so I would say that my accent or the way that I speak is kind of non-regional. I'm also really used to being around people who are not monolingual English speakers. I'm used to being around people who are from a lot of different cultural backgrounds and language backgrounds. And so maybe I've trained myself to speak more clearly, more slowly. I wish that everybody would speak like this, because then it would make my students' lives a lot easier. Hope you can focus more about the topic of teaching English to children as a non-native speaker. Yes, I'm trying to do that. I'm trying. I hope this is helping. My daughter isn't even born yet, but I'm already here learning how to make it work. Thanks for the video. Oh, amazing. I'm liking that comment right now. Congratulations on your soon-to-be born daughter. From Korea, my little girl and I want to send a big thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. Very useful for me, even though I am an adult. Thanks a lot. Awesome. I'm glad that even adults can benefit from this information. I'm from Colombia, but we live in Canada in the French region. Woohoo! Well, that's where my husband is from. At home, we speak Spanish, and at the daycare, teachers speak to my baby girl in French. I have an intermediate English level, and I want to improve my English with baby at the same time she learns it. Oh, that's great. This is such a wonderful position for your daughter to be in, that she's surrounded by French in her community. She's getting Spanish at home from you, and also English, so you guys can improve your English together. And living in the French region of Canada, she will also be exposed to a lot of English. Probably. It depends what part of French-speaking Canada you're in. But really amazing. Keep up the good work. Okay, here is a viewer who has left a couple of comments on here, and I really appreciate it. She is an English teacher in France, if I'm remembering correctly. And so she also helps families in France teach English to their young children and babies. So if you're a French speaker, you should go check her out. And so she says here, I've met many kids who were saying, I am bad in English, but they couldn't have learned it from anyone but their parents. Yeah, I talked about this in my previous video. It's really important that we are aware of how we are talking about ourselves in front of our children. We really need to be careful to not say things like, oh, my English is so bad. Oh, I always make mistakes in English. Oh. Because talking about ourselves really negatively impacts our children. Our children look at us as models and as examples, not just in English, but in many aspects of life. And so we want to be really careful. I'm talking to myself as well. I know that sometimes I make this mistake. I start to put down my abilities or talk about myself in a negative way. I talk about my French skills in a negative way, and that's not what I want for my son. That's not what I want to model for my son. Instead, we can say things like, I'm still learning. I'm improving in English every day. I'm improving in my French every day. Wow, I love learning French. Learning French with you is so much fun. Isn't it so cool that we're learning these languages in our family? And then also in this comment, she says, as for narrating your day, it seems easy at first, but when you get to it, you can quickly get stuck. I've met many parents who are fluent at work, but when it comes to speaking in everyday life, they just don't know what to say. And I admit I was one of those parents, because home and a child are completely different contexts than work, and it's okay. Ah, yes. We can be very fluent in a language, but taken into a different context, into a different situation, we can feel like we're at a much lower level. If you are feeling this way, you're feeling like you want to speak to your child at home, but you keep getting stuck, like trying to narrate what you're doing in front of your child, because narrating is a really good way to expose your child to vocabulary. I'm cooking dinner, I'm putting some salt on my food, I'm picking up my fork, I'm eating. You're narrating your actions, and just lots and lots of talking, lots of English input that your child can see, and it's very relevant and meaningful to their lives. This is a really great thing to do with your children. But of course, like she says, it's not easy to do sometimes because we don't have all of the words that we need necessarily. I get this. I feel this because I have the same thing happen to me all the time in French when I'm talking to my child. You could use technology to your advantage for this. So we have like a Google Home, like a little robot that I use to translate sometimes with my voice when I get stuck. Actually, it's right here. Maybe I could demonstrate for you. So if I'm talking to my son and I get stuck on a word, I'll say like, hey Google, how do you say I went swimming in French?
On the website context.reverso.net, they say, I went for a swim. Je suis allé nager.
Oh, that's so bad. Wow, it's actually never been that bad before. Of course, when I'm trying to make a video, it translates really, really badly. Okay, so Google is just not working right now. So instead, we're going to use AI. I have the free version of ChatGPT on my phone, and this is not like, it's not the best because sometimes it makes mistakes as well, just like Google. And also, I don't really like how it breaks the flow of conversation when I'm talking to my son because I have to pause and ask it, but it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. And so often when I'm talking to my son and I want to know something in French, I'll ask with my voice. I can either type it or I just ask. And I bring my son into this. I'm not sure if this is good or bad. I'm experimenting with it still, but I'll say to my son, let's ask the robot. Let's ask the robot. I did this in one of my recent videos. I demonstrated this, how I use it at bedtime sometimes to practice Spanish with him. So I'll try to link that up above. How do you say I went swimming in French?
Je suis allé nager if you're male, or je suis allé nager if you're female. It's a nice and simple phrase.
Okay. I also think that just the more that you do this, the more and the better you get at it, you know? Maybe you're not fluent in home English right now, but the more that you speak to your child at home, the more that you use phrases that are appropriate around the house and with your child, the more that you narrate daily activities in front of your child, the easier it becomes. And hopefully you get stuck less and less often. Okay, something that I hear a lot, and this person mentioned it as well, is that I always wonder if I'm doing enough, if I'm doing good enough, if I'm on the right path. Am I doing enough? Am I giving my child enough in the early years for them to become fluent in the language? There are a lot of things there. This is a lot. I could say so much about this. Just really briefly though, I would say that having a plan helps a lot. If you sit down and you plan what you want your child to know, what you want your child to be able to do 1 month from now, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, you're not going to treat them like a little soldier and require them to know everything on your list. They're babies, they're small children, but this will give you a guideline of what you need to be doing, how much input, how much of the language you need to be exposing them to every day to sort of meet these general guidelines. A lot of times our doubt as parents is because we don't have a plan. We're just kind of winging it. We're doing whatever we can with what we can in the moment because we're so busy. I get that. But a lot of the doubt for me has been removed or lessened because I made a plan for what I want my child to be able to do in these other languages. So think about that. Sit with yourself. Think about how you can make a little written plan. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I hope this helps your family a lot. Hi, Brittany. Thank you so much for your video. It's very helpful, but my kids always say, arrête de parler anglais, maman. They are 9 and 5 years old. Can you give me other advice? Okay. So yeah, first of all, I'll say, again, I don't have personal experience with children aged 9 and 5, but I can talk in generalities here. This is a super common issue that kids don't want their parents to speak a language that they're not comfortable in. For really little kids, this can just be confusing and jarring if their mom or dad just suddenly starts speaking in another language. So with really little kids, we do have to be careful with this. If your child is already speaking and you already have a connection with your child in your first language, you really can't just start speaking English with them in full sentences and, just fluently speaking English with them, because this will be confusing for your child. You will most likely experience resistance from your child. Your child will reject it because their connection with you is their number one priority is being able to communicate with you and have a connection with you. And so you break that when you just suddenly start speaking a language that they don't understand. You really need to start slowly, make sure that they're learning, that it's meaningful for them, that it's fun for them. With a 5 and a 9-year-old, maybe it's a matter of finding activities or topics that they're really interested in and doing those things in English. Slowly, introducing the vocabulary very slowly. Something that was a huge help recently for my son was that he went on a trip to Quebec alone with his dad for a week. And so he was completely surrounded by French with no option to speak English. And so he came back home from Quebec, from French-speaking Canada, with his French being stronger and with an instinct to speak French before English. So if you have the opportunity to bring your kids to an English-speaking region or country, or to expose them to English-speaking kids of the same age, that would be like a summer camp, a winter camp, I don't know. That would greatly help as well, just to show your kids that English is valued by other people that are not just their mom. All right, if you do want to practice some more natural English in a natural setting, I'm going to suggest that you watch this video right here. And I hope this video helped you out today, guys. Let me know if you want to see more like this in the future. More vlogs, natural vlogs will be coming soon. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.